All right, good morning, two-stroke turbo fans. We are working on another old vehicle. This is a 2006 Nissan Xterra SUV that you probably see all over the place. Pretty cool rig. They come in lots of flavors. I think this is the same truck as the Frontier, basically, just not a pickup. And what are we doing? We're working on something. Let me show you. So the customer says he has a loose steering wheel. And whenever I think of that, I always think of the nut, as in the nut that's come loose between the seat and the steering wheel. It's kind of a joke calling the customer a nut. Anyhow, this is a 2006 Xterra. If I grab the steering wheel right here with my fingers and I push up and down, it's got a tremendous amount of play. I don't know if you can see that or not. It bobbles and wiggles all over the place, and I was hopeful that it was just the nut that was loose. However, when I got the steering column cover, the lower one down, you can see it's completely full of metal shavings. Those are sparkly, shiny steel metal shavings. That's not good. That means that the column is coming apart. If I grab the steering wheel here, I'm gonna wiggle it for you. It's just very loose and unsettling. So a couple things. See this big wire ring that goes around here like this? If you take a screwdriver, well, let me show you something. First of all, you got to disconnect your battery before you start working on any airbags or electronics. That is really important. This is your horn/airbag assembly that goes in the center of your steering wheel on your Nissan Xterra. And to get this off, there's no visible way to get this off. There's no screws on the back, there's no clips. What you do is you take your screwdriver and you go up through this little hole in the bottom of the center post or the center spoke of the steering wheel, and you press this. You take your screwdriver and you press, so watch see the whole thing move and flex. That whole wire assembly hooks onto the back of these little clips and it releases it. That's the only way. And what you got to do is it gets stuck. You got to move your screwdriver from left to right to push this side to release and this side to release. It took me a long time to figure that out. I couldn't figure out how you get in there and hook, because you can't see any of this with the horn pad on. So that's a tip and trick for you. That took me about an hour. The next thing was to get the airbag connections released from the airbag. Again, your battery needs to be disconnected so you don't blow up your airbag in your face. There is a yellow and an orange airbag connection on the back of the airbag. And the trick is you got to pull these little black doohickeys up. Take your pick and you go right where my thumb is right there and you pull that up. Otherwise, you will never get those apart. It doesn't look, how do I say this? It's not self-inclusive or self-learning. That's the only way you can do that, and nothing tells you that. So you got to pull these little black guys up to get the airbags off. So that's what we're doing today. We're working on this Xterra. Now I'm going to pull the steering wheel by loosening this nut, marking it so that it can go back on in the same spot, and we're going to see what damage or what we can do to fix this. I've never experienced this before. It's a new one on me. So I have a feeling the bearing in the column is bad, so it's either a new column, new bearing, something like that. But this is what's going on, and I do not like that. That feels very unsafe. Let's get to work. See if we can fix this guy up. Okay, so welcome back to the second segment of taking our steering wheel off of our 2006 Nissan Xterra. It's a little tricky. The factory does not put any threaded holes in the structure of the steering wheel to pull it. You cannot pull it off by hand. Again, we have a broken bearing or a problem with the column. So what I'm doing, I am making a tool. Let's show you. This is a battery hold down rod for your battery, your 12-volt battery under the hood. You can buy these at any auto parts store. This is a Dorman universal battery hold down number 00580. And I trimmed the hooks a little bit to go in these holes, and then I'm going to use my puller. It's a pretty substantial gear puller, and slide it over these two like this, and I can pull right on the center of the stud without doing any damage. Now I've got to space it a little bit to make it all work, but that's really the only option I've come up with on pulling the steering wheel. I had to kind of make my own steering wheel puller. In other words, you've got to use these hooked ends, these what would you call these, umbrella hooks, maybe something like that, umbrella handle hooks. I trimmed it down a little bit so I could fit in those slotted holes that are nice and thick in the base there, so I can pull my wheel off and repair my column.